So I'm feeling very off today. I feel like it's been like this for at least a week and a half. I don't know if it's like the weather change, but I'm also quite sick. I figured since I'm not feeling up to par, one thing I know that always makes me feel really good is being outside, being out in nature. But the only thing is, all I can think about right now is the potential pollen. But I don't care. We're just gonna see. We're gonna stay out there as long as we can, whether it's until I have to pee or, you know, my nose is turning red and it's stopped up and all that. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that will make me feel like I'm a part of society right now. I've been hearing a lot of talk about how books and fragrance, they kind of go together, which I wouldn't say I'm matching the book to my fragrance today. You will see, but really I'm just using this as kind of a mood booster and also in celebration of the approach of spring. But it's replicas from the Garden perfume. They had just sent me this really tiny one last year. I guess they said, here's your sample, girl. The fragrance description is earth and tomato leaves. I wanted to share that so you could imagine, like, here's the scenery of where we're reading, and this is what I'm currently smelling. We're adding a scent element to this video. Change of plans. I thought I was going to be laying in the grass. It is in fact muddy in the grass because it's been raining the past couple days. The grass isn't quite green yet either, so I just found myself a nice little spot somewhat in the shade underneath this big tree. Thought I was going to be kicking back and laying down, but I'm sitting up. Parable of the Sower. I have been reading this for a little while now. Honestly, the best way I can describe this, why it's taking me so long, I feel like this book is best taken in doses. If you've read the book, you know exactly what I mean. It's kind of scary. Let me give you my little pitch that I gave my cashier at Trader Joe's to read this book. This book was published, I want to say in 1994. It's by Octavia Butler. And yeah, she wrote this book a really long time ago, but she wrote it into the future. The setting of this book takes place, I want to say, in like first 2024, 2025. And now the point that I'm in, it might be like 2026 or 2027. It's kind of alarming, the things that are taking place in this book, because it hasn't happened yet. It was one thing to read 2024 in the books. I was like, that doesn't scare me because we've already passed 2024 and we're fine. But now we've gotten to the point where she's ahead of me, and I'm like, I don't like this at all. I don't want to scare anyone. But if you're not a fan of being aware of current events, don't read this book. But if you are intrigued by that, and you don't have an issue with reading books that have sort of a dystopian setting, very relatable to where you are now, yeah, check this book out. Octavia Butler is a very notable sci-fi writer. I did not read the book Kindred, but I did watch the show. Unfortunately, that was canceled. It was so good. If anybody has read the book and watched the show, let me know. Should I read the book? Like, is it going to take me further than the show did when it got canceled? Because that was actually disappointing. This is only part 1 in the book, and I want to finish it today. But I don't know, y'all. We're gonna see. Because if I can't finish this, like, now during the day, I can't sit here and tell you that I'm gonna be reading this at night before I go to bed. It's kind of like a horror story in a way. That's all I'm going to say for now. So I'm finally putting together this bookshelf. I've had this in my home for several weeks now. Honestly, I don't even think I can return this if I don't like it. So there's that. I had a bookshelf before in my apartment, but it was a part of my last like TV setup, and I sold that. And so ever since then, my books have just been in book stacks. But honestly, I really like the look of book stacks. Now, of course, this is not my ultimate goal, but as long as I live in this apartment, it's my ultimate goal, because like everyone else, I have beautiful Pinterest boards of my dream home library. It's something I have wanted like ever since I was a kid. You know how Beast built, is that what we call him, Beast? Is that what she calls him? I actually don't know. But you know, like on Beauty and the Beast, I feel like that's like the origin of like everybody wanting their own library built by somebody, all the built-ins and whatnot. But I don't have room for that right now. I live in an apartment, so hopefully by the end of this year I'll either be in like a bigger rental, or I don't know, we'll see where life takes me. Hopefully this ends up being cute. It is my personal preference, but one thing I've noticed on the internet, anytime like I show my furniture and I like stack books around it or something like that, everybody's like, you should take the books down, you should hide the books behind a chair. And I'm like, does everybody feel this way? Do we not like how book stacks look? I mean, I'm still going to do it anyway because it's what I like, but I thought, you know, I thought more people were with me on this. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of emulate that, but in a more organized way with a bookshelf. I did look at the nicer ones, but I came to the conclusion that I don't know if this is going to be in game for me as far as bookshelves go. So I didn't want to invest in something that I potentially may not like. Now I'm hoping I do like it. I thought on it for a long time. It's something I can still use. It just won't be my primary bookcase, and you know, I'll just put it in another random room in the future when I get my actual home library, because I'm gonna need infinite places to put books.
I'm waking up early again, sitting alone and listening, and there is no separation.
Yeah, that's something I like to see. No screwdrivers needed.
I sing this softly to myself. I sing this softly to myself.
I actually did not realize this thing was going to be just as tall as me. Like, it might even be a smidge taller than me, but that's perfect because the bigger, the better.
There's no way to speak or reach out my hand, watching the paper slowly unfold, bracing for news that I can't bear to hold, while I'm singing this song.
I'm really not about to organize this in any particular way, only aesthetically. Oops, I lied. I am going to do this in a sort of particular order. I was looking and I was like, I actually don't want my least favorites to be at the top. So we're going to do this the Abby Lee Miller way, okay? My favorites at the top and my non-favorites at the bottom. Doing this made me realize I need to do another book collection cleanse. The last time I did one, it was probably about a year ago, and I meant to take it to the little free libraries. Let me tell you where those books are right now. They're in the back seat of my car on the floor. That tells you everything you need to know about my car. It did not end up fitting all of my books, but it did fit most of them. Honestly, I didn't even think it was gonna fit this many. I'm one of those people, I can't hold on to the books that I didn't enjoy that much. Like, I don't want anybody to come by, pick something off the shelf, and just automatically assume that I recommend it. No, I'd read it before.
I do not recommend it. I just simply have the book, because what do? Like, just throw it away? No, you just keep it until you figure out what to do with it, or, you know, maybe lend it off to a friend. This will have to do for now until I can go into my big girl home, because then I'll have to organize these books, the ones that didn't fit, and also the book collection that I keep in my hometown in my parents' attic. So, yeah. The person that recommended this on Book Talk. I actually feel bad for putting that book in there. I feel like I should take it out. Burn it or something.
Giving it to a church.
It's free country. I want to go in there. Is this not an insanely large tree? Like, I don't know, like, the trunk is suspicious. Like, why is it so perfectly trunk-like? I come to you humbly today with a bit of a dilemma. As you saw earlier in the vlog, I finished this other book I was reading, Parable of the Sower, and I'm on my way to finishing my current read, which is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. So that means I need to go and get a new book, but I really just don't know what genre I want to get. That's not the difficult decision here. Revisiting Parable of the Sower, because I feel like I didn't say much about it earlier, but I think I did kind of hint to it being a little bit of a heavy read. Heavier than I have been reading for some time now. I feel like when I was in college, I was really into, like, I guess what they display now is like the thought daughter books. Especially when it came to the category of like black activism, I was deep in those trenches, okay? And by the time 2020 arrived, I think that year just really ran me into the ground, because the overload of information, the overload of just the awful things we were seeing in media, well, the things that had been happening, but you know, now it was being pushed in media. I'm not gonna get too deep into that because I was really sad at that time. And I try to keep this space on the internet like a, you know, like a little bit of an escape. I don't want to stress anybody out over here. But let's just say it was dark times, man. Dark times. I took a long break, I would say, at that point from like any of that type of book content. Funny thing, I actually had this on my Pinterest board reading list when I was in college, and I just never got around to it. And thank goodness, because I think if I would have tried to read it anytime 2020 between now, I don't think it would have been the right time for me to read this book. I feel like I just recently got back into that space where I know like the happy medium for myself. And I can tell when, you know, it's time to indulge myself in something more serious, because the world is serious, you know. I don't think we have to take it too serious, but I don't want to harrow you with the hairy, scary details of this book. But like I mentioned earlier, it is a dystopian read. And one thing that I found really interesting is on the back of it, I think it was the New Yorker, yeah, they deemed Octavia Butler's Sower series, because this is one of multiple books, as the best prediction of like where our world was going to go in the future. A lot of things aligned, and I was reading the back of the book because I was just very interested. I'm not even gonna lie, normally I'm not one of those people, unless I'm deeply interested in the author, I'm not gonna read the extra notes that they have, but I was deeply interested in what she had to say. In the very back of the book, one of the questions that's in like the reading group guide, it says, "You've called Parable of the Sower a cautionary tale because the future presented in Sower is alarming, but possible. Do you have other ideas about the future that didn't make it into this book?" She kind of talks about her inspiration behind this book. She clearly did a lot of research. The girl did her research, okay, to even be able to write this book. I mean, it covers religion, it covers climate change. She says, "I imagine the United States becoming slowly through the combined effects of lack of foresight and short-term unenlightened self-interest, a third world country, which is really, I don't want to say funny to me. My Roman Empire is telling everybody that the 1A that I got in my sociology class in college, it was on a paper talking about how like the United States will fall and what country they will fall to. She's just pretty much talking about like how in the United States we are like such a selfish country, very mindless as far as like consumerism goes, even as far as community goes. So it talks about like a lot of the things happening now due to that, like the climate change. We've seen like the LA fires and things like that happening. There's a little bit of that in this book. And so like I said, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I just found that very interesting. I had my mother and my dad listen to it on audiobook, and at this point we are ready to go buy some property in the mountains in Montana. Let me know if you read this book, or if you do read this book, how you feel about it. I did rate the book a 5 out of 5 stars, but I will say it's not an enjoyable book, okay? Brace yourself. Like, you need to have space for this book. You got to be in a certain place to be able to read this book, in my opinion, if you are kind of looking around you and seeing what's going on. If you're not, you're probably not gonna care about this book anyway. Like, it's whatever for you. I feel like we all personally know what we can handle. But that brings me to my dilemma. So I have been seeing a lot of the book Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And I kind of want to go and see if I can find it at the bookstore, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I'm a little piqued by sci-fi right now because of this book, because this is a sci-fi book. But I'm also like, do I have space for that right now? Like, I feel like after I read things like this, I almost need to read like a palate cleanser, like a fantasy book or something like that. But I don't know, it's just always the dilemma for me as a reader between like romanticizing my life, but also, you know, being aware of the things going on and surrounding me. I feel like when we saw that list of books get banned, it just really highlighted, you know, like, reading is power, reading is knowledge, and sometimes it's reading those books that are maybe not the most, you know, butterflies and happiness, but like it's just important for you to be aware. And this actually is one of the books that is on that banned book list. I probably will continue to read books like this. I guess I'm just trying to decide if I want to read Project Hail Mary next, because I don't know if it's going to be sort of like this. It cannot be this bad. There's no way. Or maybe the answer is just how I feel about most things. Like, I feel like the correct answer typically lies in the middle. Just be mindful of where you are with both. And if you can handle one, read that one. If you can't, read the other one. That's just how I'm feeling about that right now. I'm still working on this one. I have maybe about that much left. So yeah, she's definitely going to be wrapping up this weekend. So I'm going to need something else to read ASAP. I will say so far, I am enjoying it. I feel like Sally Rooney is like a you love her or you hate her type of author. And I lie more in the I love her sector. But yeah, I will do a deeper dive of all of the books that I've been reading. I'm thinking about doing like a quarterly wrap up. So all the books that I read January, February, March. Kind of like how that last video I did was. We're not closing out though, but that just brings me to thank you so much for all of the love also that I got on my first booktube video. It was shocking. I was pretty excited about it, and I was a little scared going into it because I wasn't sure, is anybody going to be interested in hearing about so many different book genres? Like, I feel like my taste is like here and there. I don't go strictly anywhere. And when I started watching YouTube book videos myself, I felt like I was just seeing creators, they stick to one genre when it comes to books. So yeah, I was a little worried. I'm like, is it okay to like, you know, read some literary fiction and then be like, wait a second, I want to read a fantasy book? Like, is that okay? But you guys showed me that it's definitely okay, because a lot of y'all were on the same track as me, and if you weren't, like, you could relate to one of the books. And so I'm really, really happy about that. People have expressed in the comments that they are upset that there's only one video. This is number 2, so if you like it, I will continue. Books. actually own several of these. I didn't know this one was on the banned book list.
Oh, sports books. I'm in the wrong section.
Thank you. I went in with the intention of only getting a single book, which I'd like to let you know that I did. Also figured I'd show you the book that I got last week at the bookstore. I didn't take you guys along with me, and so I just figured I'd share it here because I haven't cracked it open yet. My boyfriend went ahead and grabbed a book as well while we were in the bookstore, and so I asked him if I could share his read. So while it's still fresh on my mind, I'll go ahead and show you the book that he picked up. Everyone on this train is a suspect, and he ended up getting this one because he read the original book, Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, and he really enjoyed that. I think he said this was like a 3.5 star for him out of 5 stars. Obviously he enjoyed it enough to go ahead and read another one. I didn't read it myself, but I kind of just watched him as he was reading his book, and he would like give me little updates and things, but I think he enjoyed like the author's humor. So if that's like your kind of thing. This one is just about this guy who is invited to a crime writers festival because he himself is a crime writer. And I'll just read this one little bit on there because I feel like it says a lot about the book. When one of us is murdered, the remaining authors quickly turn into 5 detectives. Together we should know how to solve a crime or commit one. Crime writers gathering up. You would think they've done like some research in order to write their own crime books. Now they feel it's their responsibility to figure out basically who done it. If he enjoys this, I may read it. So the first one that I picked up last week was Slouching Toward Bethlehem by Jhordan. Now this is a collection of essays, and I am trying my best to get more into like essay writing. I came across one of the essays in, I want to say it was Substack. Somebody was writing about why they like keep a journal. They referenced Jhordan's essay that's in this book, which is called On Keeping a Notebook. And so just from that little piece that was in this person's writing, I was automatically intrigued. So I went and sought out like the free PDF version of this essay alone on the internet. And so I read the whole thing and I really enjoyed it. It inspired me to start being more serious about keeping a notebook, writing down my thoughts, writing down my ideas before reading that essay, and just reading more into why people journal. I was kind of one of those people that felt like journaling is, here is what I did today. It was a good day, or it was a bad day, which typically I think a lot of us who kind of dabble a little bit in journaling, we find our journal just turns into like a collection of really bad days, and for some reason we don't always highlight our best days. It seems like we love to live our best days, and when we've got something good to say to the journal, we don't say it. And I guess this book will also tell me if I'm actually a fan of essay styled books, because right now I don't know if I have long enough to be in love with the author. I guess essays are definitely different from short stories, but when I think about like short stories, I just feel like I don't have long enough. But the book that I really went in there for, I might be on like a little sci-fi wave right now, and I'm not sure if sci-fi is really something that I've just ever been like, I need a sci-fi fix. I've definitely read other sci-fi books, but like more like here and there, not like this is all we're reading right now. But after that, I was like, I need more, because I feel like Parable of the Sower kind of just grazes the surface. So of course I had to go ahead and take it to space. What's more sci-fi than space? So I went ahead and picked up Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. One of those has to be right. But just because I have been seeing this book absolutely everywhere from a lot of the people whose like reads I keep up with, they typically don't post sci-fi books, but I've been seeing this like in everybody's book stack, and I've heard nothing but good things. I actually have already cracked into this one, and so far I don't have any complaints. crewmates. I don't want to say too much about the book because this is not a spoiler channel, but it follows a lone astronaut, Ryland Grace, and he has been sent to space on a mission. He finds himself in a spaceship light years away from Earth, waking up out of a coma, and he doesn't remember a thing. He doesn't remember his name, most of all. He doesn't remember why he's there. Like, he doesn't even know that he's in a spaceship at first. That's how, like, gone he is. He's not alone, but then again, he kind of is. He looks around and he does find that his crewmates are dead. So basically, he is alone in space and he doesn't know why. As he's trekking along through the galaxy, some things start coming back to him. He's doing that thing, you know, when you forget something, when you go to the next room, and so you walk back into the last room to remember what in the world you were going into the next room for. He's kind of doing that. Like, he's walking around, kind of touching stuff to see if memories come back, because he's noticed that's what's kind of happening. As he's exploring, he's having like flashbacks of memories, and like bit by bit, he's able to place together who he is, why he is in space, and what his mission is. All in all, to make this plain and simple, his overall mission is to save Earth. Humanity is in the hands of him and him only, and if he is not able to accomplish this mission, it could mean the end of all humanity. So far, it's definitely a page turner, and I think I'm gonna end up liking it, but I definitely will keep you updated. But in the meantime, I have a request. If you have any sci-fi recommendations yourself, especially if you have read this book, please let me know any books that you think I would enjoy, because now I'm kind of in deep. I kind of need more. That's all I can really give you without giving you, you know, any spoilers in the book. I want it to be a page turner for you as well if you read it. Somebody did give a review, which I will say made me intrigued to read it, but I don't really want to share that aspect of the book because I think it could have been like really shocking and fun to kind of discover that on my own. So I will just leave you to it. But I'm gonna have to get through this one pretty fast because I just ordered several books because I'm going on my first vacation of the year in like 2 weeks. It's a tropical vacation, so obviously all of these books are very tropical vacation, summer-esque. So I'm really excited to share those with you. In fact, it's going to be a trip kind of full of people that read, so that's going to be pretty exciting. A lot of bookish people all in one place. So I think I will go ahead and take you guys with me because it could be fun. I hope that was book vloggy enough. I'm still trying to figure out like kind of how to do this. I know how to read, but I'm trying to figure out how to speak to people about reading in an interesting way. So I hope these explanations are making sense. I'm still getting the hang of it, so I know some of my descriptions, they may not be the most booktubey, but I'm gonna go ahead and close this vlog out. I need to go marinate some chicken for dinner. So I will see you in the next video.